Good afternoon, Johnny. How are you doing?
I'm alright, I think. My friend's in the hospital. I've been going back and forth to visit him and doing stuff for him. I looked after his dog over the weekend, stayed at his house.
All right. Okay.
So I've been doing other stuff beyond looking after mum, looking after other things.
Well, it's good. Good. A break, right?
Yeah, it was nice to spend the night away from home. Yeah, for once. Yeah.
So I've pasted the agenda into the chat. Was there anything you
Yeah,
wanted?
it popped up immediately on logging in, so that's nice. Pin.
Yeah. Was there anything you wanted to add to that, Johnny?
No. No.
Okay. We're just waiting for the others to join them.
Yeah. Is there any kind of an event that would make them go, here's Malo?
Adam Hightex. Hi, Ben. Hi, Christian.
Hello.
Hey there.
Hi, Nicola.
Hello.
So Neil sends his apologies, and Sebastian may not join. Marcus, I'm not sure about. I think he might be traveling. Is there anything any of you want to add to the agenda? Christian, I put your name against the security incident manager.
Yeah,
Post.
happy to talk to that.
Great. Hi, Alex. How are you doing?
Hi. Are you?
I like your avatar, Alex.
Thank you.
So we'll just wait a minute for anyone late to join.
Did anyone respond back to Fergie? No, I didn't get a chance to.
I pinged him, but I didn't have any answers. So maybe it was just away, and I think it was a pretty short notice. So maybe he didn't get the update. We can, if it's the case, we can probably postpone it for next week.
Yeah, if we convene next week, we'll need to have a discussion about that. Nicola. Yeah, I'm afraid I didn't catch it. I was away from after the last meeting, so I only picked it up this morning. Okay, so let's start the meeting. So Technical Steering Committee meeting of the 24th of September 2025. We have 6 voting members present, so by my estimate we are quorate. Agenda for today is pasted into the chat. No one has raised any additional issues. So first item, which may be postponed, was for Fergie Miller to give us an update on the IOR mid-year reports. The proposal is to hold that back for a later meeting unless Fergie turns up at some point. Christian or Tex, were there any actions arising from previous meeting?
Let me check here. Let's see here. Revised wording for the candidate application questions, that's been handled. That was for committee elections. Summary of no diversity workshop is on the agenda. Metadata for governance action, I believe that's also on the agenda here today. Dedicated discussion in the SIP editors Discord to discuss the layout CIP. That may also be on the agenda. Let's see here. Hard fork working group, which we'll continue to work on. Nicholas is going to take a lead on proposal for a release calendar. And then Adam and Sebastian will be the voice of the TSC, working with developers, promoting the idea of the release calendar. So
great. So we'll cover it later, Nicola, but we had a discussion with at the No Diversity workshop about the release calendar, so I can give you some feedback from that when we get to the appropriate point. Fergie has joined us. You're just in time, Fergie, for your 5-minute Hall of Fame slot. Please go ahead if you're ready.
Yeah, just give me 1 minute. Sorry for being a few minutes late.
No problem. It's good you to join at short notice.
I just wanted to give everyone an update. Here we go. Great. So thank you for making a few minutes available. I know you have a lot going on and lots to discuss, but I just wanted to give everyone an update on the research work program for 2025. This is hopefully the first year of a 5-year program under Cardano Vision. Cardano Vision covers 9 focus areas and a total of 34 research streams. And typically research will publish a paper with supporting artifacts. We'll then hand that over to innovation, the Web3 innovation team that Nicholas leads, and they will do prototyping, formal methods, specifications, etc., and then hand that over to engineering. So that's our sort of evidence-based methodology, as it were. Each year we are committing to 20 research outputs. So that's 20 research papers published, and then 6 innovation streams. So that then sort of forms a funnel. If you look at that over 5 years, that's a funnel of 100 research outputs, of which 30 are then prioritized into innovation to be handed over to an engineering team from the ecosystem to develop and build through to typically mainnet. In terms of our reporting each year, we're committing to a reporting cycle that has 2 main reports. One is a mid-year report, and then one is an end-of-year report. So the mid-year report is a bit behind this year because it took a bit longer to get everything funded and approved. But so it was really just to sort of lift the mid-year reports off the page to you. So we're increasingly using the Cardano forum and looking at other platforms and channels to communicate and disseminate with the community. So here's our mid-year report on the Cardano forum. If I open that up, here's the report itself. So the report is designed to be a standalone document, but obviously it references the proposal. So there's a bit of a recap at the top around the evidence-based methodology that I outlined, how research works. So we start with a problem statement, we abstract and formally model, we do solution design and security proofs, and then we document and peer review. Here's the sort of 9 focus areas under Cardano Vision. And then we summarize within each focus area the main work streams that we've prioritized for 2025 and the progress on each of those. For individual work streams, we provide an overview, some context and objectives, and then a summary of the work performed and main achievements. We're reporting at a deliverables level, so that for research is the papers. And then we also finish with a summarization of why that's beyond state of the art. So we do that for each of the research streams within the report. We've also sort of requested 3 change requests. So this is 3 streams that are developing better than the ones that we initially outlined. That can be because of resourcing constraints, because of working at risk, or actually improve prioritization from a market perspective, or actually that the deliverables, research has an inherent risk because it's early stage, so that actually these research streams have made better progress. So we're sort of requesting to bring forward decentralized storage for smart contracts, state proofs and blockchain bridges under interchains, and then the zero knowledge work stream, which sits across a lot of the other work that we do. We also sort of summarize how we're disseminating and communicating. So we've got the IOHK channels here. We're doing monthly Cardano R&D sessions. We've actually got our next one tomorrow on Ouroboros, when Agalos is presenting Ouroboros and Mega, and William Wolf is presenting all the work in Laos under the innovation stream. And a summary of some of the research conferences that we've attended. And then down at the bottom, we've got the table of deliverables. So I know we committed to 20 research outputs. We've actually got 28 research papers that we think we're going to be able to deliver this year. So this is 20% over, or even more, 40% over what we've committed to. But there's a summary of all the papers that are either under submission, in progress, or published. If I then switch over to the technology validation report, very similar, the executive summary on the Cardano forum, and then we've got the actual document itself here. So again, at the top, there's a recap of, there's an executive summary and there's a recap of the evidence-based approach. It outlines what the technology validation team does. So they formally verify, they prototype and simulate, they specify, including with SIPs, and they provide any supportive tooling. I will provide the links, yep. We then provide a summary at each technology validation workstream level, and then again, a similar process for the individual workstream reporting, an overview, context and objectives, work performed, a summary of the deliverables, typically public repositories, sort of a comment on state of the art, and then also a pathway to impact, which sort of gives a nod towards engineering and product, which we then support afterwards. So that's sort of the technology validation report. We obviously, in the appendix, also reference the proposal documents. So we submitted these reports to Intersect at the end of August. We're now coming to the end of a 3-week consultation period where we've invited community feedback. We've disseminated these via the forum, via X, via LinkedIn, via Reddit, via Cardano 360, via Discord, as many channels as we can to get this out to the key stakeholders who we think it's most relevant for. And now we're just in the process of finalizing these reports. We'll publish them into PDF, and then we'll circulate them in downloadable versions to the community. So I just wanted to sort of bring that to everyone's attention. This is us formally reporting a mid-year milestone. There's lots of work that's going on. I know it might open up lots of sort of individual discussion threads, but at a high level, we're on track to deliver what we've promised, and there's some really exciting work coming through. Yeah, I'll pause there. Adam.
Yeah, just one, I guess two clarifying questions. One was, is this amount of work outputs, for those unfamiliar with the previous work streams, more, less, or on par with the kind of the outputs that we've seen over the last 8 years, or that, you know, that have led us to where we are today, essentially? And then the other question is there any intent to make those change requests a formal on-chain governance request, or is it just kind of notice that you guys are pivoting, and the community be damned, for lack of a better, a softer way to put it?
Well, so to answer your first point, we average about 30 to 35 papers a year, I would say, in terms of outputs. So we've committed to 20 under Cardano Vision. We don't exclusively work on Cardano Vision. We have other research programs that are ongoing internally and otherwise. So our total output is about the same. However, we have now carved out and specified a dedicated research program for Cardano. So the team has remained largely stable. The body of work is sort of broadly consistent, but now we have a clearer focus on what's Cardano specific. So I hope that answers your first question. In terms of your second comment, the way that we've structured our proposal was actually we commit to 20 research outputs. However, we make a reference to having like managing a portfolio. So what I mean by that is research is early stage. It's inherently risky. There's lots of things that change, including the market. And we report formally during the year, and we have to submit proposals each year. So there are formal milestones where we are reviewed by the community. But because of this portfolio, we ask for a portfolio approach, because what we're saying is that as researchers, like we would like to manage the portfolio in a certain way. And if one line of investigation reaches a dead end, we can then flip those resources into another line of investigation, which we think is more worthwhile. So there is a degree of trust that we know how best to manage research, but we make a point of being formally transparent and accountable periodically through the year and through ongoing discussions in between those periodic milestones. So I hope that sort of addresses most of your remarks, Adam. Okay, great. Well, yeah, Jonathan.
You said you had a delivery requirement of 20, but you delivered 28. Is that true?
We're on track to deliver 28. Yeah, so we're delivering over and above our.
And are you delivering over and above under the same budget?
Yep.
Okay, that's interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, so I just wanted to point out that Insect is developing a 2030 vision for Cardano, and obviously it's very important that we get alignment with the work that's being done in the research team with the vision, and that we carry forward the right work items. So are you aware of the vision? Have you had an opportunity to provide input into that?
Yeah, we're aware of it, and we aligned. You know, the product committee released a 2025 vision as well, which we have aligned all the work streams to. We've been waiting for this 2030 vision for quite some time, perhaps I dare say from IOG as well, prior to Intersect, and we much welcome it. So, you know, we've had this discussion with the product committee. Once we have that vision, you know, innovation works best when you have demand pull and tech push or science push, and you create that melting pot of great ideas. And there might be some tech that is so paramount, like Ouroboros, that you do it whatever, and there might be other work streams that are purely from the market, and then there's the range in between. So we welcome that vision, we welcome that discussion. We're looking for an improved decision-making process about what innovation streams or technology validation streams are prioritized, because, you know, the scientific vision really builds the foundation so that when one sees an opportunity, you're not starting from scratch, but you can get something into market within a year or two rather than 3 to 5 years. So the science builds the foundation, And then we have this discussion with the community and via Intersect and other quorums about what work is prioritized to bring forward into engineering. So yeah, we're aware of that and we welcome that discussion.
Yeah, obviously there's a range of research you're doing, Fergie. Not all research is basic research. Some of it is applied research, very short-term research. So that needs to be driven by strong direction from the community, of course.
Yeah, so we've always done that. I think we're looking to try and formalize that. But for example, we were invited by SIP 50 to review their work around tokenomics, which we've done. We're reviewing work around Midgard. Same for Bitcoin DeFi. So we do provide support on innovation streams. So it's already happening. But yeah, I take your point. We can get better, and we look forward to working more collaboratively on that.
Adam, you've been tracking the 2030 vision progress. I think you were at the most recent meeting. Do you know what the status is on that for Fergie and for anyone listening into this discussion?
Yeah, so there's going to be a series of review workshops for the draft starting next week in Singapore, and then going over to Osaka, Tokyo, and then I'm actually going to be co-hosting one with Juan from the product committee in Barcelona in mid-October, but I believe that is slated to go on to the chain around November for formal community acceptance, assuming there's no major revisions at this point.
Yeah, that's our understanding as well, and obviously been sitting in the product committee for since its inception. So yeah, good to see it finally. We've seen an early draft and look forward to getting a final draft once it's gone through the community feedback process.
Just to clarify, Fergie, this is not the vision is not owned by the product committee per se. They've been driving the effort, but this is owned by Intersect as a whole. So it's not just a product vision. Sure. And obviously it's community driven largely as well. But yeah, I think we're on the same page. Great. So I'm conscious that we've got other items we should discuss. I'd quite like you to tell me what the 2 or 3 most significant achievements have been in terms of the research outputs. If you could, that would be interesting. So what do you think is most important? Well, I think I know it's probably a discussion for today, but I think the Laos innovation stream, I think, is a significant milestone. So I think that's probably the most notable. We brought forward the zero knowledge work stream. There've been a number of papers there. Particularly the one on UC snarks that was published at Crypto 25. And I would also say there's strong progress. If I look at the papers, there's a number of them, most of them on Ouroboros, and there's a number of on sort of interchains as well. So I think those 2 areas are probably the most interesting, where there's been the most exciting research that's come through too. Great. So the meeting tomorrow, you said the research meeting is that's an open meeting. Yeah, I'll drop a link in the chat. It's our monthly Cardano R&D session, which is how yeah, I'll share the link. Yeah. So hopefully some of the TSC members will be able to join that meeting. Thank you very much. So, thank you. Great progress. Good start. So the next item on the agenda was to revisit feedback on the Laos SIP. So Adam or Nicola, do you want to take that?
I can take that, but the thing is, I'm not sure there's been a lot of progress since last week, actually. I think we are just at the stage where, well, each TSC member is supposed to do his homework, read the SIP, and then I think there's a bunch of meeting where we could discuss the SIP details and agree on what should be the position, or at least what should be the, or could I frame it actually? the outcomes that the TSC takes from the discussion with the team, and then probably come to a conclusion of what do we want to present to the community as a high-level description of the trade-off of linear layers.
Great. So there was good discussion in Toulouse about linear layers yesterday. So I was present at that. So that was very interesting. So I think what we'd agreed was there's a SIP editors meeting next week. So we'll circulate the details of that, and it would be good to get representation from the TSC at that. And then we've got the next monthly LAOS meeting is next Wednesday. It's October the 1st. It conflicts with the timing of this meeting. So we have a decision to make. The future meetings on LAOS could be moved, but if we want to attend, if members want to attend the next LAOS monthly meeting, which I think is probably a good idea given the state of development and the importance to the community, then what we would need to do would be to either cancel this meeting next week or else reschedule it for another day. So what do people want? Who would want to go to the LAOS monthly meeting next week? Adam?
I was just going to add that I will not be able to attend either meeting because I will be in Singapore. So that either one is acceptable from my perspective.
Ben, Johnny, Alex?
Should be fine, yeah. I'm not in Singapore, unfortunately.
I think we could also shift the start of this meeting back by 30 minutes if that worked.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep.
Let me just double check the time. I'll double check the timings with Sebastian. I think we could probably shift it back by 30 minutes. Do we have agreement to do that? And if time is pressing, we can always cut this meeting short next week. Brent, so we have a let's do that. We'll start late next week. Brent.
And to that
Sorry.
end, real quick, Kevin, one thing that I would like is, if possible, people have a bad habit of having all these little conversations, like you mentioned at the Node Diversity Workshop. A bunch of like nerds that are very close to this all got together and they had a good conversation about it, but that doesn't necessarily translate to the larger community realizing what was said or what happened during those discussions. And so, yeah, the intent has been, at least that I've been pushing for, is that the technical steering committee can serve as the guides for the community to help explain what's going on with this layout. How is it different? Why is it different? And, you know, just so that way the community as a whole can understand those trade-offs and decisions that have been made for whatever reasons they have, in a way that we can act as kind of that go-between between the rank and file and the very highly technical, you know, theoretical mathematicians and researchers and things like that we have writing papers. So, well, it's all well and good. I've heard that just a couple of times during recent kind of contentious discussions. Oh, we took it to DMs. Okay, well, like what finally changed somebody's mind about it? Like how did we get people on side? It would be great to capture those outputs, and we have this great facility through the CIP process and the conversations there. So I would hope to get some of that documented there for posterity, so we can understand how those decisions got arrived at.
Yeah, so we certainly should be able to do that for LAOS, Adam. It's striking. This is a major technical issue that we can and should highlight to the community. We'll come on to the diversity meeting later, but there's going to be a summary produced by the organizer of the meeting. The problem is that it is only a summary, and it won't cover all of the details. And to cover all the details does need some evaluation, some synthesis from different sources. So you're quite right that doing that is some way we can provide value to the community. Absolutely. Great. So we had put the slot battle discussion on the agenda because Duncan Coutts had asked us to add it to the agenda. Duncan isn't here today, so we'll postpone that to the next meeting. We've started to mention the Node Diversity Workshop. I was hoping that Sebastian or Marcus would be here to give their view, their perspective. I was at the workshop for one day. The second day, the first day was largely covering Antithesis. This is the testing tool that CF has been promoting for the Amaru tool. For the Amaru node. There will be a summary of what was discussed there. We raised issues to do with the role of the Security Council and the Technical Steering Committee with the members, with the attendees at the workshop, including Nicola, the release schedule. So I'll cover that in a second. We want to open up the Security Council to consider how to manage security across diverse node implementations, because obviously there are new issues that arise if we have multiple nodes involved in Cardano, running on Cardano mainnet, and security concerns were one of the key issues that the node developers raised as being important for mainnet readiness. So there's a role that the Security Council and the TSC can serve in guiding, helping to set standards for nodes to reach mainnet and providing advice and input on security procedures. So the release, so I've mentioned discussion of Laos. It's quite about an hour or two discussion on linear Laos, basically a run through of the current design, including there have been some very late breaking changes. So if you've downloaded the SIP more than a few days ago, it's now slightly out of date, I'm afraid. So you'll need to go back and check it. So the Laos design is progressing rapidly, and obviously all the node developers are paying attention to that. The Cardano node developers, the Haskell node developers are getting ready to start on the implementation, but obviously there's still some design decisions being taken at this point in time. So we're not at a stage where we've got a completely final design to be worked on. So anything that's done now is going to be preliminary and might need to be revised later. The release schedule, so we had discussion about regular release schedule. The suggestion that was arrived at was that we could have 4 collection points throughout a year, with only 2 of them being used. And then discussion centered around, well, if we're going to do that, what we then need to do is to work backwards. So we need to allow for tooling to upgrade. We need to allow for all the node developers to reach a consistent position in terms of the implementation of their nodes for the hard fork. We need to make constitutional changes, perhaps, where we're entering a new era where new parameters are being introduced. So there's a whole raft of things that we have to deal with in the new world that we're entering into. So what we will need to do is to coordinate this very carefully, and what we won't be able to do, we suspect, is to have hard forks quite soon after the node development is completed, as has happened in the past. So we think there's going to be a longer latency, and this will be necessary to iron out inconsistencies between node implementations, for example. So that's one of the changes that's going to be made. The other thing that we're going to have to do is to start to discuss scope earlier. So there will need to be an early scope discussion. What we are developing Laos, for example, roughly when will it be ready? And node developers will need to coordinate on that. This is somewhere where Intersect with the TSC and the hard fork working group can help out. So initial scope determination, early stage planning. Then what will happen is we will get closer to a hard fork date, and we will need to firm up on the scope, what SIPs are going to be included, what is going to be excluded, and then there will need to be a final cut where if something isn't working and we're getting to the stage where we're intending to have a hard fork, then we cut items that aren't ready yet, postpone them to the next hard fork, or alternatively, if something comes in very late and is working, we will need to do that at that point. So that was roughly how the discussion went. So one of the things that I will try to progress is to write down all of these different stages, all the different things that are needed for a hard fork. So we can provide that as input for the hard fork working group. Now, the bad news, Nicola, is there was a lot of division in the room between those who wanted a time-based release schedule and those who didn't. So the people who didn't were the Ledger team.
Yeah.
So the Ledger and Consensus team didn't want time-based releases. They preferred feature-based releases.
That's weird because, I mean, first, it's probably not the most impacted team by this. And second, in their case, very likely what will happen is that we will probably have a schedule release for testnet and then a feature release for mainnet, meaning that basically, especially for something like Laos, you probably want to have a first release that is, Laos is ready for testnet. And then the next stage is, at the next hard fork, Laos will be ready for mainnet if everything goes well during the testnet. So for them, it's probably even easier than for other team, actually, because there's at least two stages where you just go to testnet first and then to mainnet. I think it probably means that we need to have a discussion with them.
Absolutely.
And also with was the feedback more positive from the other node implementers?
The other node implementers haven't got to the stage of thinking about it.
Okay. So they don't face this problem yet.
they're not facing the problem yet.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. There's at the moment they're trying to catch up. They're not yet at the stage where they need to deal with the new features. So yeah, it simplifies a bit the thing on their hand. I agree.
In particular, what the Amaru node team is doing is they're working from a snapshot which captures the ledger state immediately prior to Conway, and what they're expecting to do is to cover 2 eras and then to discard the code base for previous nodes. So they're not going to have a node that is capable of covering all eras. But
that being said, I also understand that, as we discussed last time, there's pros and cons again from a fixed release schedule compared to a feature-based schedule. So I can understand that people have a different point of view, and actually, at some point, we just need to gather the pros and the cons and decide on one or the other. And obviously, not everybody will be happy with the decision. But at some point, the community itself should take the final decision, probably.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
so the discussion recognised the value to the community of having a fixed schedule, particularly to developers who are not the core developer team. So to exchanges, to DApp developers, and so on, of knowing that they can basically relax and not have to worry about some random schedule, and not have to worry about things like holiday schedules, etc.
Relax is perhaps a bit hard.
Well,
Yeah.
no. I think some people. So some groups. So those who are more downstream, Nicola.
No, but yeah, it is. Yeah, it's probably not relax is probably not the good term, but yes, a bit more relaxed probably. Yeah, Adam, sorry, you have your hands on since a pretty long time.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out from very recent firsthand experience with the Ledger and some of these other teams that the way that and the specific words that were used to approach them would have a large impact on their acceptance or outright refusal for it. Right. So telling them like we're going to aim for 2 different time periods for hard forks throughout the year doesn't mean we expect you to have 2 hard fork ready releases every single year like clockwork every 6 months. Right. So, just firsthand experience with Alexi and some of the other people that I guarantee were in that room pushing back against this idea. It's probably just we have to couch it correctly and get them to understand we're only going to still hard fork when they're ready, but we're going to do it at these 2 time periods through the year and not just randomly in December when they feel like it's a good time to mint a release, right? That'll have to wait until April or whatever the case happens to be.
That is to say, if they miss the boat, they miss the boat until the next one.
Yeah.
But I think it might be one of the reasons why they're a bit reluctant about it, because if I remember correctly, they like to have basically a feature branch policy on GitHub, meaning that they are working on a feature. When the feature is ready, they are merging it. And the fact that at some point they may have to keep a long-running branch because something is unready is probably not the best for developer team. So it could also explain why a developer team won't be happy about it. It's just that if it's good from a community perspective, we need to find a mitigation between what is good for the development team and what is good for the community.
Yeah, Adam.
Yeah, and I'll just, again, for the record, go on to say that I view very much the past 8 years of IO's development process being source available and not open source in spirit. So a lot of these guys are very used to, it's my team and I get to control the Cardano ledger with an iron fist, even though they are a contractor working on behalf of and paid for by the Cardano community. So I think we just have to massage that perception of the relationship a little bit, and then and get everybody used to what the new normal is, and of course that's going to be a little bit contentious while we go through it, because we're just changing up corporate culture a little bit, and so that it's to be expected, but I think we'll get there. I think the juice is worth the squeeze in the long run.
Yeah, so we definitely need the discussion to work out what the issues were. This was a very short poll that I was able to make. So obviously concerned about long-running feature branches, Nicola, but if we have multiple nodes under development, that's going to happen anyway, because not all nodes will be ready at the same time, and we will have to make changes to the node based on what we discover regarding interoperability with other nodes. So we may be a while off being in that position, but it's definitely going to happen. I think the other concern may be that the teams will come under a lot of pressure to get things ready for the collection point. So that's something we'll have to be aware of. So if you know the one of the possible points is, say, 6 months out, and the next one is, say, 9 months out, if you miss the deadline for the 6-month version, you've inevitably got a 3-month delay for the following one. So then, and obviously there could be pressure then to complete the development and secure software doesn't work best under development pressure. So we need to do that properly. But equally, we do have to have enough time for people to do the testing, and we do have to allow enough time for the community, the Constitutional Committee, the DREPs, the SPOs to evaluate the proposal, and as I was saying, for any constitutional changes to be proposed and put forward to the community as well. So, yeah.
But yeah, I think it's also where this idea of first we release for testnet, then we release for mainnet is important, because it means that yes, it's if you're a bit under pressure and if you rush to have something integrated, there's still this full testnet period to bulletproof what has been done as well. And it's also that probably we need to move to a culture where if we miss a deadline, and it will be in the next one.
Absolutely. Yeah, so happy to discuss if there's any other questions about the Node Diversity Workshop, or I'm happy to discuss that further with people either privately or in the next session.
Thank you.
Right, as I said, we expect there will be a summary report produced by the organisers. So they were taking notes throughout the sessions. Brilliant. Yeah. Next item on the agenda was the security manager role, which is being promoted by the Security Council. So, Christian, you promised to speak to that. We've all had a look at we've all been able to take a look at the role, the job advert, and hopefully the job description as well.
Yeah, well, and I think if the former cadence wasn't enough to help justify what this role will assist with, basically security operations at Intersect is very, very immature, bare bones, and outside of myself, there's not a dedicated body for this, and I'm one of the most overstretched people working. So this is a person just for structure and cadence that will come in as a security incident officer, set up processes in place, be the point person for the Security Council and integration stuff to allow for anonymity if the council chooses it, and help structure us within 12 months that maybe we need the role next year, maybe we don't, and help us GitHub operation security stuff too as we need it. So we need more than just the telephone game. And so a big part of this role is going to be forming partnerships with entities and actual teams doing a lot of the monitoring work, and appointing the Security Council to be the head as the steward of, with Intersect being the steward of the Haskell core. We need the Security Council to be that authority to help escalate in these issues and handle them, rather than it just being one lead dev without any informing anyone. So
yeah, so for everyone watching the call, the goal here is to appoint a security officer within Intersect, whose role will be to coordinate policies, procedures, and responses to any security incidents. And as I was just discussing from the Node Diversity Workshop, that shouldn't be just the Haskell node, Christian. It's going to have to be for Cardano mainnet.
yeah,
So
basically, they need to form an ecosystem partnership for this whole process is the primary remit.
Yeah, and one of the early responsibilities will be to coordinate the disaster recovery fire drill that we have been discussing.
Yeah, so to answer the concern, no, they won't be by the phone 24/7, just waiting for a call. I wish it was that easy.
Right. I think yes. I think so. You're making it clear that they're not just sitting around waiting for things to do, Christian. There's a lot of work that has to be done, and equally, one person is not going to provide 24/7 support. So what we would expect is that this person is the main contact point. They're doing the main coordination, but other team members would need to be involved.
Yeah, And I can lead pioneering calls with the ecosystem partners, but this person's going to be the one to follow through, make sure all the I's and T's are crossed to get that development support. And as y'all can see too, we do need someone from Intersect to help handle this. We do have available bodies for backup support, but now that Matt Davis has stepped away to focus on the smart contracts, there's another missing body for the security support.
Yeah, the great thing is that unlike some other chains, we don't have huge numbers of security incidents to deal with.
I hope so. Yeah.
That we know of, right? There have been
Indeed.
some that just haven't been fully disclosed in the past. So we may not even know how many skeletons are actually in the closet at this point.
Adam knows something.
I know things about stuff and/or things, we can say.
But to clarify too, the Intersect HR team will lead the interview process, and they'll loop in y'all, the OSC, and the Security Council, just to make sure a good culture fit and all KYC is done on this, since it's a very sensitive topic as to who we hire. So.
Great. So this group will be involved in the recruitment process, Christian.
Yeah. So they'll give us a short list, and then we'll be able to propose from those candidates.
Right, so we're looking for input from TSC members on this important role. Great, thank you. So I'm going to just quickly skip ahead. Alex, Max, so TX. Sorry, I'm going to have to read this out so I get it right. Max TX execution cost brackets memory parameter change.
Yes. Are you not referring to the new parameter?
No, I'm not referring to the new parameter.
Yes.
So-
Okay. Then there will be a second topic. That is about the standard parameter change that we have discussed probably 3 months ago by now, or nearly 3 months ago. We've identified it as a security parameter. Kevin wrote a public note that we intend to change this to meet the constitutional timeline of pre-announcing the change. That runs out on the 7th of October. So we could, anytime after that, post a parameter change.
And that is to mean a parameter change governance action for vote.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. So I'm just checking the schedule for hard fork. Sorry, not for hard forks. I'm just checking the epoch change deadline. So there's an epoch change on Monday the 6th. That is technically not inside the 3-month window. So the earliest we could submit the proposal would be on the 7th or later. So the first epoch for voting would be the 11th. So what I would propose is I will circulate the draft metadata to this group. I think I may have already done that before, but I will make sure that is circulated to this group so that everyone can see it. And what I would propose is that we take a formal vote on when to submit it next week. Does that sound acceptable to everyone? I'll circulate the metadata out of band. Does anyone have any concerns about this parameter change? It's been a while since we have discussed it before, but this is basically going to allow more execution units, larger Plutus scripts to be executed, remove some checkpoint, and the proposal is going to be to do it in 2 stages so that we don't violate any guardrails. But in total, we would get, I think, a 25% increase in the current setting, the current memory unit setting. Assuming that's successful, we would then be in the position to make a further relaxation, we believe. So this will help build in additional chain capacity.
Point 2 would have been a new one.
Go ahead.
Sorry, just telling people to shut up in the office. Redact that from the notes, please, Gemini.
It's going up on YouTube.
Even better. Point number 2 that we've raised the last time at the parameter committee was the addition of a new parameter, new margin. There are 2 ways to activate it, either in the intra-era hard fork that's coming up, at which point it would not be a parameterizable parameter, so one that can be changed through a parameter change governance action, but one that is just added as a fixed parameter in the set, and only also changeable then through a hard fork governance action. Or we wait with adding min margin until Dijkstra, which is the era changing hard fork, planned to be happening in 2026, where we can add the parameter as a full member of the parameters. One way to find out how urgent this is, whether we have to go through the process of sounding it with the community, actually finding a first value for a parameter that can't be changed with the parameter change governance action, and so on and so forth, until the next intra-era hard fork, would be to ask those people that are currently working on it. That would be Carlos. But the parameter committee also raised this question to the TSC, whether anybody here has any input on the process of how to get min margin into place, because I think this is currently at this stage what we need to be concerned with most. Just checking the notes. Yeah, so I believe, to summarize, first we need to find out the urgency of min margin. We hope to achieve to get that by inviting Carlos and one of his team members maybe. And if anybody's interested from this call, or any of you, we invite you to the next parameter committee call, which is happening in 2 weeks on Thursday, to decide which urgency this has, so that we can follow a process from that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so thanks, Alex. So we're obviously relying here on vendors implementing this change and any other changes to the incentive scheme, such as SIP 50. So and a similar process would need to be followed for determining an initial setting for the L parameter of SIP 50, for example, including making sure that any constitutional changes to guardrails were highlighted. So the earlier we get to do the discussion, the better. Great. Adam, do you want to finish this up? Were there any issues arising from the ISC, anything we should be aware of?
No, there was just discussion on the security incident manager position, and Jack shared the hiring criteria, which is essentially that the individual will be kind of shortlisted by Intersect staff. Then they'll have to go through an interview with the TSC chair, the OSC chair, and I want to say the actual like Intersect steering committee chair prior to being formally hired. So like the committees will have ultimate control. Oh, and then potentially a member of the executive team to make sure they're a good cultural fit. And I believe, Kevin, it was already indicated that you had already signed off on that hiring process. And so we were waiting on the open source and the Intersect steering committee. But aside from that, no, it was just really updates on where everybody is at budget wise. And of course, the election cycle drama, which we've already also worked our way through here in the TSC. So.
Yeah, I took the liberty of signing off on that. I didn't hear any dissent to the process, only to some of the details of the role, which we can deal with. So if anyone has any input on the role itself, or input to the questions we should ask, anything important we should ask the candidates, that would be great. What I'm assuming is it depends on the number of candidates that we need to deal with, but we might need to split the recruitment between us. So if it's a case of attending something like 20 interviews, that's beyond the capability of any one individual, I expect.
I'll do it.
You'll do it, Johnny. Thank you. We have Johnny volunteering.
I already did 13 for the USC. As did Tex, he took them all.
You're a brave man, Johnny.
Yeah, well, that's who's Tex.
I've made a note of that. Thank you. Great. Any other issues anyone wants to raise in this call? If not, I'll talk to you all again very shortly. And a reminder that next week we'll push the start time of the meeting back by 30 minutes to allow for people to attend the Laos monthly meeting. Great. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Ciao.
Bye.